Welcome to another episode of A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles, with your boy, with your favorite conservatarian, Jeff Charles, where we prefer truth over narrative and principles over politics. And I'm going solo on this one right now. I just want to kind of touch on a story that I saw, and I actually wrote about it in Newsweek. But before we get to that, remember to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a video or whenever I upload a new interview, which I do every Wednesday and Friday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern. Also, if you want to support my work, it's in the show notes. The links are in the show notes. They're also right here. I've got all the CashApp, Venmo app, PayPal app, and all of the other apps to support my work. I appreciate each and every little bit. Helps me to bring you this awesome, wonderful content. But without further ado, let's get to it. Now, most of you probably didn't see this on the 4th of July because you were out celebrating with friends and family. You were out barbecuing and all that good stuff, having that brisket, burgers, hot dogs. But California Governor Gavin Newsom thought it would be a good idea to run an ad attacking Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, my governor, and also Florida's Republican government. For some reason, he thinks it's a good idea to try to match up his state with ours. And I'll get to that in a second. But the question is, why? Why would Gavin Newsom run an ad in Florida when he's in California? What's going on here? The answer is simple. That ad was not for Florida. It was for the entire nation. That was a national message because Gavin Newsom is running for president. He hasn't announced yet. He hasn't even said anything indicating that he is. But I think at this point, it's pretty obvious that Gavin Newsom plans to run in 2024. I know President Joe Biden said he's not going to, or says that he is going to seek re-election for a second term, but we all know that he's not going to do that. He's already too old. Democrats don't want him. Republicans don't want him. So I don't care what he says. He's not running for a second term, and he knows it. He's probably just saying these things because he has to, because otherwise he'll be more of a lame duck president than he already is. Now, that brings up the question, right? I mean, if Biden doesn't run in 2024, who are they going to put up? Now, everybody's hopes were on Vice President Kamala Harris when they first came into office. As a matter of fact, I predicted even then that I thought that Biden would probably step down before his first term was out. She'd become president, and then she'd be the one that would run in 2024. But after seeing how Miss Black Hillary has performed so far in office, I don't think that's an option either at this point. Now, I don't know whether she thinks it is or not, but the Democrats would be foolish to run Vice President Kamala Harris in 2024. She might seek the nomination, but again, it would be a really stupid move. I mean, Kamala Harris has shown herself to not only be incompetent, but she has the charisma of a lizard in a bag, a dead one. Very dead, like a lizard that's been dead for like 5 weeks. That's how much charisma she has. Okay, I'm being a little silly. But yeah, it ain't going to be her. So who else? For a while, people thought maybe former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo might throw his hat in the ring, and he probably would have. But then it turns out that he ended up getting people killed in nursing homes. He got old people killed by COVID by making a really stupid move and forcing them to move into nursing homes where they infected other people and blah, 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 blah. And it turns out that he can't keep his hands to himself. So he took himself out of the running. He ended up having to resign. You already know that story. So who else? Who else do we have? I mean, the Democratic bench is not good when it comes to presidential contenders. People have thrown out names like Pete Buttigieg. You know that's not serious. There's absolutely no way they would be stupid enough to run Pete Buttigieg. Hillary Clinton, no, that's not. I know there are people who want to make that a thing, and there are people who would love to see another Trump versus Hillary matchup. I don't think that's going to happen. So who else is there? The only other logical choice right now is California Governor Gavin Newsom, and he knows this. He is the only one on the Democratic side that has any level of charisma, that has been known for a long time. and he's not part of the Washington establishment. I mean, yeah, he has ties to it, but he hasn't been in Washington. He's been in California. He was the mayor of San Francisco before. So all of his politics have been state level. He's not known in Washington circles like that. Yes, he is related to Nancy Pelosi, I believe, by marriage. But other than that, not really. So he could cast himself as sort of an outsider, the same way Senator Bernie Sanders did. So he is a logical choice. And again, Newsom knows this. And he's been criticizing his party for not fighting aggressively enough against the Republicans, for not doing enough to fend off all of the attacks that Republicans are making against Democrats. Now, to be fair, they don't really have much of a defense. I mean, Democrats are sucking on every single major issue. I mean, they don't have a defense for inflation. They're the ones who are presiding over the country while this is happening. The migrant crisis, Joe Biden started this migrant crisis, and he has absolutely no solution to stem the flow of illegals showing up at the southern border. The economy is, in some areas, it's doing fine. But when it comes to inflation, gas prices, what are you going to say when Republicans attack you on that? The best they can do is just say, oh, well, Republicans can't fix it either. Well, that's not a very good selling point, right? What other issues are going on? Crime, skyrocketing crime rates. And the response to crime is to defund the police and to install these woke district attorneys that are more concerned about letting out violent criminals than they are about prosecuting them. They're more concerned about safeguarding criminals than law-abiding citizens. So, yeah, I mean, I get Newsom's point, but the Democrats can't really do much to go on the offensive because they have so thoroughly screwed things up. Nevertheless, Newsom is making those overtures. He's making those moves. And this ad, I think, is the beginning of it. So before I go on, I want to have you guys listen to the ad and take a little look here. And it's only 30 seconds long, so it won't be that big of a deal. But perhaps you'll get as much of a laugh out of it as I did. Let's see.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom is under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight, or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to choose, freedom from hate, and the freedom to love. Don't let them take your freedom.
Paid for by Newsom for California Governor 2022.
Yeah, you got to love that, right? So I'm not going to go into all the freedom to choose and all that stuff. Nobody actually thinks that California is more free than Florida, except for the people who want to believe it. I mean, I'm sorry, like that's ridiculous. You saw what happened under COVID-19. Gavin Newsom and his motley crew of Democrats in the state's legislature enacted all kinds of COVID regulations, lockdown orders, mask mandates that he didn't even bother to follow. So nobody actually believes what Gavin Newsom is saying here. And if they do, then maybe they just don't really pay attention to politics. But I also want to talk about the data, though, because the data does not quite bear out what Newsom is saying. And it kind of makes you wonder why he would even pick this fight. Ron DeSantis is the most popular Republican politician, bar none, except for former President Donald Trump. So it kind of makes sense. But let's just take a look at the numbers here. I wrote this for Newsweek, and you can see some of it here. Let me scroll down here. I looked at a few different metrics just to see how this could possibly turn out and what he could possibly be thinking. But there are plenty of reasons why he shouldn't be picking this fight. So here I kind of detail, how they're going back and forth. But let's talk about approval ratings. Compare Newsom's to that of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. In February, University of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, their Institute of Governmental Studies conducted a poll showing that 48% of registered voters approve of Gavin Newsom's performance, while 47% disapprove. Now, it's not the most horrible approval rating in the world, but it ain't great. Half of the state can't stand him. 54% of respondents felt that California is headed in the wrong direction. And only 36% of Californians believe that Governor Newsom is leading them in the right direction. Now, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Let's look at DeSantis. Florida Politics, it's a state publication. They also conducted a survey in February and found that 54% of respondents approved of Governor DeSantis and his performance. Only 38% disapproved. There was another poll that they conducted around the same time that was conducted by the University of North Florida, showed his approval rating at about 55%. So it's kind of in line there. The Florida State's Chamber of Commerce found that 50% of Florida residents believe that the state is headed in the right direction. Only 41% disagreed. Also, in the state of Florida, for the first time in the state's history, the Republican Party has more registered voters than the Democrats do. So just to wrap that part up, Floridians love DeSantis way more than Californians love Newsom. He was even the target of a recall attempt. And honestly, if Republicans in California hadn't put forth the wrong candidate, yeah, it was Larry Elder, they could have done much better in that race. I think there was a good chance that Gavin may have been recalled. Maybe not, but it was doomed to fail when you had that candidate. There was just no way he was going to win. But let's talk about population. As you know, a lot of people are moving out of California, and this started a long time ago. As a matter of fact, when I left California for Texas, a lot of people were leaving. They were losing more people than they were taking in. Let's take a look at the numbers. According to Cal Matters, California's population has seen a tremendous decline over the past decade. But even more recently, the Census Bureau found that California, quote, had a net loss of more than 250,000 residents between July 1st, 2020 and July 1st, 2021. It's about 250,000 people that California lost, 250,000 in just 1 year. Now, since 2010, about 7.5 million people moved from California to another state. Now, to be fair, I mean, they did have some move into California. They had 5.8 million people move into California since 2010. Still, that's a net loss of a little over 2.5 million. And it's still going on. There hasn't been a time where more people are moving to California than from California in a very long time. Now, let's look at Florida. The U.S. Census Bureau shows that Florida has seen an increase in population. What a shocker. About 211,000 people chose to make Florida their home between July 20th and July 21st. So almost 250,000 people moved to Florida between July 2020 and July 2021. Maybe it was all those Californians. And we also know that Californians are leaving for states like Texas. I was one of those people. And other red states. It's just a thing. It's not just California either. People are moving away from New York and other blue states. This is a trend, guys. This is a national trend, not just California. Blue states are losing people. Red states are gaining. And the reasons why seem to be obvious. But that's for another time. Now then, let's talk about how the two states are ranked. So I looked at U.S. News, popular news site. They do a lot of these analyses. And they ranked each state from first to 50th place. And it's funny because they measure a lot of different metrics in this study. It's actually quite fascinating. I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the show notes because you can massage the data and compare different states for different metrics like education, rankings for the economy, ranking for opportunity, ranking for crime, stuff like that. Now, let's go back up here. Okay, yeah. So the overall ranking, Florida ranked number 10 out of 50 states. That's what they were ranked as far as quality of life, more opportunity, crime, education, all those together. They were ranked as number 10. What was California? They were ranked at 24. So that's about halfway through. And for the state with one of the largest economies in the union, you would expect them to be doing at least a little bit better. Now, here's what's interesting. When it comes to the state's economies, California and Florida rank at about the same. Like, I know California has a bigger economy. It also has double the population that Florida does. California's economy ranked at Number 10. And I'm not talking, and this isn't referring to like the size of the economy. This is talking about just what economic issues they're facing, how people are doing economically, blah, blah, blah. So California ranked at 10, Florida ranked at 8. So about neck and neck there. Florida blows California out of the water in education. Florida ranked at 3rd in the nation. California is ranked at 20. As a matter of fact, out of all of the metrics that they measure, Florida does better than California, except with healthcare. California does do better with healthcare than Florida does. I mean, it's clear, right? I mean, despite having the world's 11th largest economy, California still doesn't compare. California has a lot of crime. It's got a lot of homelessness. It costs tons and tons of money just to live there. The taxes, the income taxes are ridiculous. You have to pay tons of money to the state of California just to start a business. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. If you're well off or wealthy, California is probably fine, as long as you don't mind being, taxed up the wazoo. But in every other area, there's really no reason for people to live in California. Because, I mean, maybe the weather. I mean, the weather's nice, but I like the weather here in Florida too. So it's not that big of a deal. So California it's interesting because Newsom is still picking this fight. Maybe he should be trying to focus on fixing his state first before trying to go at it with DeSantis, because by every by every conceivable metric, Florida is a much better place to live. And I can tell you that as a former California living in Florida now. But it's not going to matter, is it? I mean, Newsom knows what he's doing. He knows that most people aren't going to dig into these numbers. And he is setting himself up as the perfect foil. As a matter of fact, DeSantis makes a perfect foil for Newsom because of what I said before. They're both governors, and they're the most popular governors on their respective sides. There isn't another Democratic governor who is as popular as Newsom, or as well known, I should say, or has the name recognition. And same with DeSantis. There aren't a lot of Republican governors that have the same level as popularity and name recognition. I mean, you've got like Texas Governor Greg Abbott. You've got South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. They're pretty popular, but DeSantis is at the top. As a matter of fact, there are people who would rather have DeSantis run in 2024 than Trump. There are a lot of people doing that, even some donors. That will be in a different segment that I do. I'll talk about that a little bit. But realistically, I mean, is any of this going to matter? Let's say Gavin Newsom gets the nomination. It's not going to work. Democrats have messed things up so thoroughly, like I always say, Republicans could run a platypus in 2024 and still win. So I get what Newsom is doing here, but he might have wanted to pick a different time because his party, let's say Gavin Newsom was actually a good governor. I think it still wouldn't matter because his party has jacked things up so horribly in Congress, at the state level, and especially in the White House. So I don't see this working out. But again, he's got to do what he's got to do. He's got to raise his star. Maybe if he loses in 2024, he'll try running again when the landscape is better. Who knows? I mean, it does make sense that he's doing this. I mean, it is probably a good move overall. But the proof is in the pudding, guys. I think the country's going to be able to see which alternative is better. So I will leave you with that, and I'll have a couple more of these episodes coming out for a few more of these segments. And until next time, keep your minds free.